right, hello. I'm Kevin. I'm from Kickstarter, the data team. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about how we've successfully built a data-driven culture. We obviously use Looker, otherwise I wouldn't have invited us to speak here. So we will be talking a little bit about how we've used Looker to accomplish that goal, which is building a data-driven culture. So before we get started, I just wanted to run through some basic Kickstarter numbers, Kickstarter data by the numbers. We are essentially a Rails app that runs on AWS, Amazon Web Services. We generate about 20 million events per day, just to give you a sense of scale. It's not the largest data set, but we do have significant event data coming in on a daily basis. We're small, right? We're 120 employees. There's 5 on the data team. I'm one of them. We have 2 scientists, 1 engineer, 1 lead, and 1 analyst. Actually, it's not on this slide, but our data lead, Fred, was actually employee number 5, I think. So just to give you a sense of sort of where we started, data's always been sort of an important part of Kickstarter's history. So it's nice to have a boss who's sort of at the CEO's table all the time, right? So it definitely helped with some of what we're going to be talking about. So I'm not going to talk about our stack. I don't want to bore you guys to death, but I will give you sort of the TLDR, which is our focus is to get data into Redshift. We have a number of services that are built on Redshift right now, Looker obviously being one of them. From the top, we have most of our day-to-day work is done in R. We do a lot with Hadley Wickham's ggplot2 package. Gotta shout him out, it's very important to the data team. We use Postgres, obviously Redshift is a Postgres language for very simple data pulls. And then Looker, right? So Looker helps us with a lot of automated reports, a lot of dashboards, which we're gonna go into and talk about, and very, very simple data exploration, particularly for teams who don't know SQL, or even for those who do. So TLDR, get data into Redshift, that's where the data team does its work. So in talking about a data-driven culture, I think one of the most important things we've been able to do is really step back and understand why do we think it's important? Like, what's our goal in building a data-driven culture? And so about 6 months ago, we holed up at our old office on Rivington Street, the data team did. And we really thought about why this was important to us and sort of how we would accomplish that goal. And so from our internal team mission statement, our master plan, as we sort of called it initially, our goal is to really support not just the organization, but the community, staff, everybody that really works with Kickstarter with data-driven research and infrastructure, right? So we're obviously wanting to engage with the data community as well, advancing our own skills and expertise, but really our primary purpose is to provide research, insights, infrastructure to our organization. And so Looker has helped us with this. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. So the 3 ways that Looker has helped us accomplish this goal of sort of accomplishing a data-driven culture has been to really encourage speedy and high-quality decision-making, to scale our impact, and to, like I mentioned before, enable other teams to explore data without having that prereq of sort of knowing SQL, right? Of course, we obviously encourage people to learn SQL. It's great. Should always sort of push your own skills. But for those who don't, Looker's been a very, very good sort of bridge in order to get to the data exploration that we'll be talking about. So we're gonna go through some examples, starting from the top. So how has Looker helped us encourage speedy and high quality decision making? It's really brought data to the table. And I think Carl was alluding to this in his presentation. Anytime you have a team who now has access to information, they're at a meeting, they have credibility, right? They have data. They have something that they can present their boss or the CEO, our founder, Yancey. Data makes you credible. And so Looker has made it very easy for a lot of our teams, like our customer service team, for example. So CS is our customer service team. They work a lot with Zendesk and Zendesk data. Anytime somebody is pissed off about a fulfillment issue or something's gone wrong, they write into Zendesk, we get the data on that ticket. So some of the Zendesk performance metrics that team might want to look at are things like, what's our average time to first response? What's the quality of the satisfaction of the tickets we're answering? Are people happy? Are they not happy? This is actually data that they really weren't using before. And things like average time to first response, if you're like a CS team, it's kind of important. So we partnered with a company called Fivetran, who essentially ETL'd our Zendesk data to us. And the data team has essentially worked with our CS team to build these reports on that Zendesk data. So you can imagine they're going to go into a meeting about staffing, for example, and if they see a spike in the number of tickets created in the past week or month, that's information they can help to sort of plan their workforce accordingly. Do we need more people? Do we need people who speak German, for example, because we launched in that market? So that's an example of how data has really influenced that discussion. Other things that the CS team uses Looker for is feature requests. So you would think something like feature requests, it's very important information. That's information coming from our backers and our creators on, it'd be great if Kickstarter did this. So they have automated a report that goes to actually the entire company in the form of a newsletter about what backers and creators want, like what are the features that are most commonly asked. So again, this is information that's pretty simple. It's actually very simple, but Looker has helped us automate it and get it to more people. And that's where we're having the most benefit with this tool. Second bullet point is scales or impact. I think this is a pretty self-explanatory one. So we use Slack. We have a Looker Slack channel. It started out being pretty dead, and now it's really active. So it's been nice to sort of see people gradually increase their usage of the tool. But for example, John is our outreach director. He works with creators on sort of pitching them on Kickstarter as a platform to come with us and launch projects on Kickstarter. This is something he sort of like dropped in the Looker Slack channel a few days ago. So we have this project, this jacket. It's got a lot of pockets. I don't know if you guys have seen it. He wanted to do some research. It's insane. You should actually look at it. It's insane. He wanted to get some information on the characteristics of the backers of this project. What do they have in common? Sort of what are the nuances of this audience? So it's kind of hard to read, my apologies, but he wanted to look at, play with the data about the total backing history of the backers within a single project, beyond just whether they are first-time backers or not. What are the project backers the world's best travel jacket bag, for how much, what subcategories? That's kind of a data request that we would get. And so, our team had actually worked on a very similar project for comms, our communications team. As you can imagine, we get a lot of incoming sort of requests from journalists about the coolest cooler or potato salad. Like, what's up with that? So we have this dashboard that sort of helped John get the same information that we're providing another team. So yeah, we drop it in Looker Slack. They see the dashboard. Other teams are using something we built for another team. That's scale. That's less work for the data team and more time for us to focus on more research. And it enables other teams to explore data without a secret. So, Kickstarter, we have a very, very strong culture on self-development and learning. We obviously promote people learn SQL, advance their skill sets. There are some teams that just don't have that skill set right now. And Looker basically allows them to have access to that data. So this is just a small subset of the teams that currently use Looker and some of the use cases for their usage. So our integrity team uses Looker for risk and fraud reports, automated reports on suspicious backers, for example. We talked about CS and Zendesk metrics. Communications, they're talking frequently with the New York Times or different blogs. Tell me about these backers. They can get that information from Looker now. Our outreach team, they have built dashboards on like stats for different creators. So we might be trying to convince a dance creator to come to our platform. Things like what's the success rate of a dance rate project, or what's the average goal amount of a dance project. That's information they have via Looker now. That was previously just like a really simple data pull that I had to do like every time somebody asked. So it's really simplifying that process. Finance, I think our CFO is like one of our biggest users, which is great as far as getting budget for more Looker users. And then marketing, in terms of like email analytics, they're very, very high users of this as well. So a lot of these teams sort of don't work with SQL on a day-to-day basis, and this is giving them the power to do so. And so probably nowhere near the scale that Warby Parker has, but we're seeing very, very strong usage, right? So 6,000 web usage minutes a month and about 1,000 plus queries. So for a company of about 120, we're pretty happy with that. So we're going to step a little bit back and talk about just the data team craft at Kickstarter and less about Looker. We are big fans of Trello. Have any of you guys heard of Trello or actively use Trello? Okay, half of you. We have a number of lists. We have a list for what we're working on at the moment. We have a list for what we shipped, right? So it might be a Looker dashboard, might be a rec engine analysis. We have per department lists, so if CS or marketing or product want to request an ad hoc data analysis that they can't get via Looker, they can do that via Trello. We have a backlog list. And obviously now we have a Looker list. So we're promoting people become sort of devs and build their own dashboards and build tools as they need them. Sometimes they can't do that, so that's what the data team is for, and we make ourselves available, right? If anybody needs help, Slack us, write us an email. We're very, very big. Zev was huge. He was coming every other week for a while and giving us, you deserve the credit for this one. So it's just being really active on that front and just making sure people know that you're available and can help with those LookML dashboards. So another sort of core tenet of the data team is reproducibility. It's next to godliness. That's a quote from my boss, and he actually means it. So everything we do is in like Google Docs spreadsheets. We have so all of our Redshift queries, SQL queries, are checked in via GitHub. We also permalink the SHA URL. So if we have somebody new come on, they can see the query that we ran to get that data set at any given time. So very, very much about transparency and openness and just making sure somebody new comes on, they don't have to recreate the wheel. R and Looker is connected to GitHub as well. So again, everything that's checked in, we have access to it via GitHub. And then finally, we have final graphs that are attached and kept updated on the appropriate Trello cards. So there's a huge emphasis on just being transparent, making sure every analysis is reproducible at some level, so that we can share analysis, and if anybody comes on the data team, they're set. They have enough to learn from. So sort of in conclusion, we're also thinking about simplifying more complex processes in Looker. One of our data scientists, Jeremy Salfin, actually figured out how to automate A/B testing in Looker, which was a really gnarly query. And he built a LookML dashboard that can actually report on A/B tests and email PMs on a daily basis. We blogged about it on our Backing and Hacking blog. I think he's talking with somebody at Looker as well. I think they might post something. It's great. It's just an example of us sort of trying to push the envelope in terms of like what we can do with Looker. So this has been super helpful, and this is just like a preview of what that LookML dashboard looks like. And so, sort of in conclusion, talked a little bit about data-driven culture, how it's important, why it's important, how we accomplish that. I think I used to work at LinkedIn before it was my last job, and I had a boss who kept emphasizing, it's not about the data, it's about the insights. And I think that's a very pithy way of saying, you can have access to data. We have democratized our data sources. That doesn't replace people actually interpreting the data and telling a story with it and delivering insights. So while we have more people using Looker, writing queries against our databases, it's still up to us as the data team to help them interpret that information, help them learn how to interpret it themselves. So Looker has done a great job at helping us democratize that access, but it's very important to stress insights over data. And then our second point about building a data culture is really being visible. We're a team of 5. We're embedded with the engineering department. People know who we are. We're pretty active. We have a bi-weekly newsletter called Metadata that sort of summarizes A/B tests, things we're working on. And so that's, I think, the oldest newsletter, the most consistent newsletter. We have things like reading groups where we talk about an academic paper. Maybe Google wrote something cool that we want to talk about. We'll invite members of the engineering team to come join us. And then, of course, Looker office hours. Those are pretty popular. So just being visible, being available to your stakeholders and the rest of your company. We also teach data skills in informal sessions. So we started a program called Kickstarter Data Driven University, KDDU. So basically, we have 30 years of experience on the data team. How can we help the rest of the organization learn things like what's a good data visualization? How do you tell a story? How do you build a PowerPoint with data? How do you be skeptical with data? What kind of paradoxes do you see working with data? So being visible, that's sort of the second takeaway. And the third takeaway, just learning to automate things. If something comes in more than 3 times on Trello, just our focus is on building a view or a dashboard. Help them really automate so they're not thinking about where they're going to get this data, where they're going to get the insights, and really focus on actually the insights of that particular data problem we're working with. So those are the 3 takeaways on growing data culture that I sort of experienced working on the data team at Kickstarter. Again, tools don't replace people, be visible, always automate, and that's it. So thank you.